show is AD on the radio. What?
Today on the show, we discuss why this week in Donald Trump's presidency will be taught in the history classes of the future. There's been another massive breach of celebrity internet security, and the web has been flooded with naked pictures of Tiger Woods and Miley Cyrus. Plus, Funkhouser and I are suffering from seasonal allergies. Are you?
Here, you want to borrow this?
We are not sharing nasal spray.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is a null, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
Hands up who else is having problems with those late summer, early fall allergies. Like, they come for us and come hard this year. Oh, my gosh. I can't, like, you wake up, your eyes are sore. You got, like, crust in your eyes. Can't talk. All sort of congestia in the nose. It's no fun. You know that gunk that you scrape out of your eyes, Funkhouser, in the morning, especially during this allergy season? Mm-hmm. That crust that collects in the corner of your eyes. You know that eye gunk, eye boogers, as they are most commonly called, inspired one of the biggest songs in the history of rock music.
Oh, really? Which one?
James Hetfield, lead singer of Metallica, was thinking about this idea that the myth goes the Sandman sprinkles that stuff in your eyes while you sleep, so you dream. That's what the Sandman does. That's why the guy that sends you to sleep is a Sandman. It's not because sand makes you sleepy. I always wondered about that. I was like, why is he called Mr. Sandman when, in fact, sand does not have the quality of making you snoozy? Like, what's sand got to do with falling asleep? And apparently that stuff, the myth goes, the Sandman sprinkles it in your eyes, and that's what helps you dream. Enter Sandman is about a parent saying the Sandman's coming here, and a kid taking it a completely different way and freaking the hell out. So I always thought that was kind of interesting. I thought that was kind of interesting that one of the biggest rock songs in the history of big rock songs was, in fact, eye boogers. True story. Another true story is that history will look back at this week of Donald Trump's presidency, and mark my words, this week that we have lived through will be taught in schools. Have you ever had a moment where you could say, I was there when? I've never had one of those, except for, well, that one time that I got to see Bartolo Colon hit his only home run of the Mets game in San Diego. That was an amazing, amazing moment. We've talked about it on this show a bunch. But if you've never had one of those I was there when moments, well, we all have one just because we're living through this week, which will be taught in schools moving forward as they look back at Trump's presidency in history. And it's notable for a number of reasons and unique for a number of reasons. But I think one of the reasons this week is unique is because it will be the week in history where protesters have asked for our president to be removed from the, wait for it, WWE Hall of Fame. It's true. Politics are dividing everyone these days, even wrestling fans. The WWE is in the middle of a series of events in Brooklyn this weekend, including SummerSlam, that pay-per-view event at Barclays Center. And as you may or may not know, our President Donald J. Trump, leader of the free world, president of these United States of America, is also a proud member of the WWE Hall of Fame. And that's not sitting well with some fans. So they held a protest outside the arena. They even have a website. A protester named John Stevens said, quote, "We were talking about how Trump gave that crazy press conference." And he's talking about the one where, well, there were multiple crazy press conferences. There was the one where he didn't condemn the Nazis, and then the one where he condemned the Nazis, and then the one where he flip-flopped and flapped back to the point where he wasn't condemning Nazis anymore. And he said, "We thought, how's he in the WWE Hall of Fame?" even though Hulk Hogan got kicked out over racism. You remember that whole website scandal, Bubba the Love Sponge recorded Hulk Hogan without Hulk Hogan knowing, and Hulk Hogan dropped the N-word in that secret recording, and that caused Hulk Hogan to be kicked out of the WWE Hall of Fame over racism. And the protesters have said, hey, how is it possible that Hulk Hogan's not allowed in, but Donald Trump is? What Trump has done, they said, quote, is remarkably worse than what Hogan did, since he's dividing the country by siding with neo-Nazis and white nationalists. He said it's also hypocritical because the WWE is always touting its anti-bullying campaign. There's a couple things to note here. First and foremost, Hogan isn't actually kicked out of the Hall of Fame, although the WWE did stop putting him on TV and rarely mentions him anymore. Secondly, the boss's wife, Linda McMahon, yeah, well, she's part of Trump's cabinet. She's the head of the Small Business Administration, so any action against Trump by the WWE, probably a long shot. But nevertheless, it's just one teeny tiny part of the reasons why this week that you are living through, my friend, will be taught in history classes moving forward. And we'll get to the other reasons next.
Say ho, ho, say ho, ho, ho. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show. Let's start the show.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So like I said, you and I were living through an historic week. It will go down in history that this is the week where wrestling fans protested Donald Trump and asked for him to be removed from the WWE Hall of Fame, saying Hulk Hogan got removed for racism, why not Trump? Well, like we said, first and foremost, Hulk Hogan wasn't actually removed. They just don't really do much with him anymore. They rarely mention him. Secondly, the boss's wife, Linda McMahon, she's part of Trump's cabinet, so yeah, any action against Trump by the WWE, probably a long shot. She's the head of the Small Business Administration. But nevertheless, this is a week that will be taught in schools in years to come. This is a moment that I think historians will look back on and say, there it is. There is a turning point. It's kind of interesting that the one thing that people who love Trump and the one thing that people who hate Trump can agree upon is that up until now, Donald Trump has been reasonably bulletproof. The things he says, the things he does that make people go, oh, well, I mean, clearly it's curtains for him. You can't have a president of these United States of America that says and does things like that. Everything just sort of slides off. Nothing sticks. Trump says he could shoot somebody and still win the election. Trump won the election. Trump said that when you're famous, it gives you unmitigated rights to grab women by the privates. Trump said, who knew healthcare was so complicated? Trump hasn't repealed and replaced diddly freaking squat when it comes to healthcare, and brick one of the border wall is nowhere to be seen. Donald Trump said the words, I thought being president would be easier than my old life. There's constant rumors of shady Russian connections with regard to election tampering. And you know what? None of it mattered. The Kevlar-coated, Cheeto-colored leader of the free world is essentially rubber, and his critics are glue. However, this past week just gone by, I think history will reflect that there's the oops, that's the line, and he's crossing it moment with our president. Now, for the first time, Republican politicians are talking about Donald Trump not being a candidate in 2020. The events of Charlottesville were different. They're different from everything else that happened. Charlottesville was a hideously tragic, hateful, awful act of terrorism in which a neo-Nazi took someone's life. And Donald Trump failed to name the name of the murderer, or the murdered, or the hate group responsible. Trump did a little dance. That was a completely unsubtle effort not to lose the knuckle-draggingly evil white supremacist voter base. And hear me, I'm not saying all Trump voters are white supremacists. But I'm going to go out on a limb and imagine that all white supremacists were Trump voters. Trump, with his now immortal words, on many sides. Yeah, those are the ones that are going to go down in history. On many sides. Trump, with those words, came out as weak on neo-Nazis. Trump came out as weak on hate groups. Trump came out in a manner that made people feel he was trying to cozy up to them. And he was. Not because he's a white supremacist, not because he's a neo-Nazi, but because he can't let any kind of principle get in the way of people saying that they like him. Not only is it a need for political support, it's a need to be liked. But what's interesting to me about this is I'm guessing the difference here wasn't the severity of Trump's blunder. The difference post-Charlottesville wasn't the severity of Donald Trump's moral transgression. The big difference after Charlottesville was that this was the first time he didn't double down on his original statement and dismiss the entirety of anyone else's view on the situation as fake news or alternative facts. Sky's blue. Fake news, alternative facts, it's actually green. But it's clearly blue. Sure, CNN watcher, believe what you want. Fake news, alternative facts. Look, that's been the rhetoric. That's been the way he's gotten through life. But this time it was different. What did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump faltered. He slipped. He came out against Nazis too little too late. And when the entire world, including other world leaders, turned around and went, too little too late, dude, he flipped and he flopped and he rolled over for the white supremacist contingent and he returned to his violence on all sides, on many sides. Blame game. Now, if he'd gone with his fake news, alternative facts, the failing low-rated false media is trying to hide the fact that I'm the greatest champion of equality ever stance, like he usually would in that situation, I think he would be in a different place today. If he'd gone with that unmitigated, blindered approach to life that got him where he is at the moment, he'd be in a different place. But now his own party is calling him out and calling into question the idea of him being around in a few years. Money making, skills on the mic, can be paid every day and part of the battle, just bow down, better act if you know. Come on, down to the crown.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on.
So I guess commitment to the idea that you are right about all things at all times is a means to an end. I mean, Donald Trump has been able to commit to the idea that he is always right about everything. And that any kind of disagreement, dissent, or disapproval is part of the fake news media, the failing fake news media, false news, fake news, alternative facts. The little dent in his ridiculously self-confident armor showed up this past week just gone by after the events in Charlottesville. He flipped and he flopped and he came out as weak on Nazis, came out as weak on hate groups, came out as weak on white supremacy. And people went, hey, you're weak. And he didn't deny that he was weak. He just came out and made 3 contradictory statements. If he'd just gone, like I said, with his fake news alternative facts, the failing low-rated fake media is trying to hide the fact that I'm the greatest champion of equality ever stance that he would have done in the past, he would be in a different spot right now. But now his party is calling into question the idea of him being around in a few years. Senator Susan Collins says it's unclear whether Trump will be the Republican nominee in 2020. She's a Republican, and she said it's far too hard to tell. She didn't vote for him in 2016. She's not a fan. She instead wrote in House Speaker Paul Ryan. But she said, I think the president failed to meet the standard that we would have expected a president to do in a time like that. There should be no place for hatred, bigotry, and racism. And he should have said that very clearly. He wavered. Another Republican senator, Tim Scott, condemned President Trump's defense of the neo-Nazi protesters in Charlottesville. He said that Trump's response complicates his moral authority to lead the nation. He said it's going to be very difficult for this president to lead. That moral authority remains compromised. That moral authority we need the president to have has been compromised. So this is people on his own team saying that about him. And it's because he faltered. Trump, for the first time since he leapt onto the political stage in the run-up to this election that just passed, for the first time he faltered, he wavered, he flip-flopped. He showed a soft and vulnerable, saggy underbelly. In a moment of confusion, in a moment of self-doubt, instead of leaning on the fail-safe crutch of equally brilliant and moronic, utter, total self-righteousness, what did Donald Trump do? He looked unsure for the first time. You might have disagreed with him. You might have thought what he was saying was absolutely idiotic. But he seemed sure and confident with every last word that came out of his mouth. And now, not so much he looked unsure for the first time. The first time that we can remember. And now, there's blood in the water and the sharks are circling. Is he done? Is this the beginning of the end? Well, not so much, at least not through the idea of impeachment that people are talking about. But I think Donald Trump is done through dismissal. Approval ratings are wildly low, and every president has suffered through wildly low approval ratings. But it's the dismissal, the writing off of him being an effective president after he lost his footing this past week just gone by, that I think is where the real damage is done. Did the nation just write him off as an insufferable buffoon? And are they going to starve him of that which he needs the most to survive? Attention? I think maybe. I think maybe that's why it could be the beginning of the end for Trump. This week in history, in the wake of Charlottesville, that's where the idea of the reality TV show president experiment might come to a screeching halt. You see, as unthinkable as it's been for our president to have said and done any number of things that he said and done over the last 100+ days since he became president of these United States of America and leader of the free world, as much as it's been dismaying to see the normalization of so many distinctly non-presidential behaviors. Yeah, the White House, what a dump. Trump's words, not mine. I'm glad this is the line that he crossed that made people, if I may borrow from him, on many sides, I'm glad that this is the line that he crossed that made people on many sides say very, very loudly, yeah, that line you just went over. We're not crossing that one with you. We're not crossing that one with you. You went there and we will not follow you. Martin Luther King said the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by the bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. And I'd like to thank you for not being silent this week. All right, Funkhouser. I don't know if you caught it or not, but you remember when the fappening happened?
Oh, do I? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When there was a massive iCloud hack of celebrities and there were naked pictures of famous people up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically on a website called The Fappening. Well, we've sort of gotten the sequel to that particular move this week. Mm-hmm. We have. Website has posted leaked naked photos of Tiger Woods, his ex Lindsey Vonn, Catherine McPhee, Kristen Stewart, and Miley Cyrus. We'll talk about. We'll talk about exactly. And you know what? For the sake of science, I took a quick look. You know how there's good naked and bad naked? According to Seinfeld, there's good naked and bad naked, meaning on your knees trying to fix a bicycle chain naked, not good. Coughing, not good naked. There's some not good naked that is up on this website that we'll discuss a little later on. Right now, though, let's take a look at the events of today. What's going on in the world?
This is My Witness News. In no way, shape, or form fair and certainly not balanced. And now, super producer to the stars, Barry Funkhouser.
Yes. Okay. Fellow passengers caught Tommy Lee joining the Mile High Club with his girlfriend. What's he, taking coach now? Fellow passengers.
I guess he's no longer in the... Well, I don't know. I think flying first is what rock stars do. Like, private jetting, that's expensive. Like, I can see that if you're traveling with the rest of the band, you do that, but like... Yeah. And by the way, this is Tommy Lee. What's the headline again?
Fellow passengers caught Tommy Lee joining the Mile High Club with his girlfriend.
No. This is Tommy Lee of Motley Crue. Tommy Lee was not joining the Mile High Club. Tommy Lee was re-upping his frequent flyer membership to the Mile High Club. Like, this is the guy from Motley Crue. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that him being caught in the bathroom with a female on a plane is not a brand spanking new occurrence.
That's a Tuesday.
Yeah. But there is video on my blog of... There's video evidence on my blog of Tommy Lee being caught coming out of an airplane bathroom and then his girlfriend following him a little while after. Of course, Tommy's already a founding member of the Mile Long Club. Talk about snakes on a plane.
Okay. Black China is selling a Black China doll.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. That Black China is that Instagram model / stripper, I think, like, and I'm not trying to cast aspersions. I think that she was a professional, like, pole dancing individual before she became the internet celebrity and the Kardashian offshoot that she is. But she's selling... Black China is selling a Black China doll. Huh. It consists primarily of vulcanized rubber and molded plastic. No word on what the dolls are made from. Classic misdirection, easy low-hanging comedic fruit. Go on.
A former high school baseball player, is in California, is suing his coach for benching him.
You know? Remind me again why people accuse millennials of being entitled little whiners. My baseball coach benched me. And to be fair, I saw this headline and I read a little deeper into the story and I was like, could you sue your baseball coach? Like, he's being sued for $150,000. Could you sue your baseball coach? Now, here's the thing. If this kid was on the verge of, say, a $150,000 free ride scholarship type situation because he was that good of a baseball player, and his baseball coach benched him, thereby locking him out of $150,000 worth of educational money, I would understand it, but he just said he was being bullied. He said his coach didn't like him and he put him on the bench, and therefore he deserves 150 G's.
Okay. Seems like there's a piece we miss. We missed in the story.
I did the research. There's not a piece we missed. His feelings got hurt, I think. I think that's it. Anybody with deeper knowledge of the story, feel free to correct us.
I'm calling my lawyer then, because
at Funk FM.
Because I was offended at least once today. President Trump fired Steve Bannon on Friday.
Yeah. Bannon was pale, sunken-eyed, and disheveled, and then he got fired. Look, watch the space for news on Steve Bannon. Bannon and the Mooch, our new favorite.
There's a song in there.
There's a song in there. There's a buddy sitcom in there. There might even be film rights in there. Bannon and the Mooch.
Not a folk band, though.
Now that, the Mooch is out of a position of any real power, now that he's not involved into the day-to-day runnings of the White House, I kind of like having him around because he's an amusing little feller. And I think he's going to provide us with lots of quotable moments. So I'm curious to follow the post-White House career of Anthony Scaramucci, and I would imagine that we're going to have a lot to say about Steve Bannon and Anthony Scaramucci moving forward as the tale of Bannon and the Mooch unfolds. Apparently, President Trump firing Steve Bannon, it was an amicable split. As a parting gift, I think Trump even gave him a couple of Confederate statues.
I won't be needing these anymore. Now that he's out of the White House, Steve Bannon wants to be the face of Breitbart.com.
Also, God willing, proactive. He's starting, or at least wants to start, a television network. Now, we don't know if this is going to be sort of like internet television. We don't know if this is going to be subscription-based or if it's actually going to be a network. But this was the idea. The idea was that Donald Trump had no interest in an actual presidency. He aligned himself with media gurus like Steve Bannon, who, make no mistake, whether you like him or not, is very, very good at what he does. And he aligned himself with folks like Roger Ailes, the ousted head of Fox, because the play was the run-up to the White House was probably going to fail, and he was going to use it as a springboard to launch another portion of his media empire. Trump TV was going to be a thing. And it seems like Bannon's kind of going after Trump's dreams by going, I'm beating you to the punch. Since you fired me, I'm going to start a television network. And it's supposed to be to the right of Fox. Fox News, not right-wing enough. Here comes Bannon TV. That's the idea. And if he successfully gets there before Donald Trump does, I would imagine that would be the battle line of ratings being drawn.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you my musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD.
So you remember the website The Fappening? There's been a sequel to that website. There was a massive breach of celebrity iCloud a couple of years ago, and naked photos of people that are famous and you probably wanted to see naked flooded the interwebs. And there's been another one of those. Tiger Woods, Lindsey Vonn, Catherine McPhee, Kristen Stewart, Miley Cyrus all had naked photos leaked, and we'll talk about that a little later on in the show. We'll talk about the pictures and, where you can see them if you want to. But, when you go to this website, you kind of take your own legal safety
Take
into
your
hands
computer into your
because-
own hands, too.
Yeah.
Not protected.
Yeah. We'll move right along before it gets a little. Yeah, I I don't want to talk about putting anything else in your own hands. Let's do some more news. Funkhouser, real classy. Let's get to the story.
President Trump revealed his new strategy for Afghanistan in a speech.
Yeah, Operation Change the Subject. Now, Trump did something, and you know, quite often on the show, we talk about the idea that there's little or no difference between Democratic or Republican leadership, Democratic or Republican presidents. And, man, the speech on Afghanistan really made me double down on that idea. See, what Trump did, besides saying that he's going to send troops to Afghanistan, besides the fact that he reiterated there's really no end in sight. He said we wouldn't be in the nation building business when he was running for president. Now he's like, we might have to do a little nation building because we don't want to completely bail from the whole situation and leave some sort of power vacuum available for an ISIS or a Taliban terrorist organization to come in and take control of the region. These are all scenarios that have played out over the last couple of presidential regimes. But Trump did what Bush and Obama did before him. Trump called for victory. What's interesting is, like the presidents before him, if you were to ask him exactly what victory looks like, what our end goal is, there's not a really clearly defined idea. See, none of these presidents, Bush, Obama, and now Trump, failed to specifically define what victory looks like. He said, first, our nation must seek an honorable and enduring outcome worthy of the tremendous sacrifices that have been made, especially the sacrifices of our lives. Okay, what's the outcome? We must seek an honorable and enduring outcome that takes note of the sacrifice of lives that have gone into Afghanistan. What is that outcome? Let's see if he figures it out and defines it. He said, the men and women who served our nation in combat deserve a plan for victory. Right. Victory. Got it. But what's that victory? They deserve the tools they need and the trust they have earned. Tools, trust, okay. These sound like good things, a little vague, but what's the victory look like? The tools and trust they've earned to fight and win. So what is victory? Oh, wait, he did define it. He said, from now on, victory will have a clear definition. Attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, and preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan and stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge. That's still pretty non-specific. It was a weird move because, look, both George W. and Barack Obama were criticized when they called for victory in Afghanistan, because they offered this sort of like vague idea of what victory might be without getting too terribly specific. And they were called on it for being wishy-washy in their definition of said victory. Donald Trump obviously took note of that and said, okay, we got to make sure that we are defining victory. He said, victory will have a clear definition. Attacking our enemies, obliterating ISIS, crushing al-Qaeda, preventing the Taliban from taking over Afghanistan, stopping mass terror attacks against America before they emerge. These all sound like good ideas in general, but they're vague concepts, and it's crazy. He went, unlike other presidents, I have a clear definition of victory. No, you don't. That's the exact same definition that Obama and George W. Bush used when they were trying to define victory, and it failed. It's so close. Fumbled at the one, where he took note of the fact that past presidents have been beaten up on for being wishy-washy. And he even came out and said, I will have a clear definition of victory. And then he provided anything but. Anyways, like I said, Operation Change the Subject. What else?
On Saturday, tens of thousands of marchers took place in a march against hatred in Boston.
Everything went well until somebody in the crowd yelled, "Go Yankees."
No,
it
man.
was actually like there were, what were they calling them? Free speech rallies or something like that. But there was sort of like there was a contingent of people that might have been marked as being hateful, and nothing happened, which was a great part. It was the great part that nothing happened. This is how free speech in America is supposed to work. Now, the folks on the right were severely outnumbered. The folks who showed up to do the rally in the first place were so unbelievably outnumbered, they were not trying anything. And I thought that was cool. Not the outnumbering part, but look, peacefully assembled folks screamed and shouted about things that they believed in. Everyone was heard. Everyone went home. And everyone was safe. And that's how it's supposed to work in America. So, well done, us, for not letting that one get ugly. Go on.
Florida man was fatally beaten and stabbed in the eyes after an argument over cannibalism.
You know, of all the things to argue about, like cannibalism. I dug into this one a little bit.
Sometimes you're hungry.
I don't know. But yeah, horrific stuff. Although, current state of affairs in America, and this is why I'm so stoked that the marches in Boston didn't turn into anything. In the current state of affairs in America, the same thing could happen if you get into a Facebook fight with your cousin over gluten. So, let that be a lesson to all of us? Question mark?
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
It's a Fappening Part 2. Tiger Woods, Lindsey Vonn, Catherine McPhee, Kristen Stewart, and Miley Cyrus had naked photos leaked. We'll get into the interesting legal aspect of this a little later on. Ooh, speaking of interesting legal aspects or interesting things in the world of law, did you see who Bill Cosby hired as an attorney for his retrial, Funkhouser? Did you catch this?
No. Oh, tell me.
When Bill Cosby is retried for the sexual assault of Andrea Constant, he's going to have a brand new attorney representing him, Thomas Mesereau. Now, the name might not ring a bell, but if you've been around for a while, you've heard of him. He is the lawyer with the long white hair. You remember this guy? Does that description help? Who got Michael Jackson acquitted of child molestation charges back in 2005. He also helped Robert Blake beat his murder rap that same year. So he's got a track record of helping people defend themselves against distinctly unsavory charges. In an interview last year, he defended Cosby's right to a fair trial and compared his situation to Michael Jackson, saying, quote, the worldwide media had already condemned him and basically discarded him as trash. I see something similar happening now. And when Cosby's first trial ended in a hung jury earlier this summer and prosecutors announced that they were retrying him, Mesereau said, quote, I think it's a weak case. It's a waste of time, which is basically him going, hire me, hire me, hire me. So we'll see how this one plays out. He's definitely got some experienced legal representation on his side with this one. All right, Funkhouser. We'll talk about the Fappening Part 2 in a little bit. Right now, though, let's roll through what remains of the news.
A new study says women need to have sex or they can suffer from a condition called vaginal atrophy.
Oh, atrophy. I believe this study was brought to us by the Mayo Clinic, after which it was immediately brought to wives by husbands all over America. Oh, don't
Why did we
want
lead
you
with
to suffer
this?
from don't want you to suffer from atrophy, sweetheart. I'm just doing the right thing. Go on.
Barack Obama's tweet in response to the violence in Charlottesville is the most liked tweet in Twitter history.
Heartening stuff, but remember, it'll be forgotten as soon as Kim Kardashian gets bored and tweets a new angle of her butt, so there's that.
Or until the Fappening Part 2.
Right, yeah. Go on.
Jimmy Fallon criticized President Trump, all right, on his show Monday night for taking too long to denounce white supremacists.
And then he screamed, psych, and resumed playfully tousling Trump's hair. Boy, Jimmy Fallon.
It's all right, all right. Come on.
It's all right. I love it. I love it. Jimmy Fallon can't get over the tousling of Trump's hair. Like, people have a real problem with Trump. Like, people on the left and the right have a problem with Trump. Ever since Charlottesville, the knives are out. There's blood in the water. The sharks are circling. But the line has been drawn in terms of it being a binary choice. You're either with us or against us when it comes to Donald Trump. You know who I think is interesting that gets to skate on that? And it's probably because they've come out so strongly against Trump with the Alec Baldwin impersonation is SNL. SNL put Donald Trump on. There was an entire Donald Trump episode. I remembered this as I was flicking through Hulu the other night trying to figure out what I was going to watch, looking at past episodes of SNL that I might have missed. And I was like, oh, that's right. Donald Trump was the guest. He was the guest host on SNL once. And Jimmy Fallon cannot escape the fact that he playfully tousled Donald Trump's hair when he had him on in the run-up to the election. Jimmy Fallon lost viewers. He lost ratings because he was having a little fun with a presidential candidate. But because people thought this is a binary choice, he is forever tarred and feathered with that thing. He can't seem to get out from underneath it. Neither in the court of public opinion nor in the ratings battle. And it's an interesting one because I would have thought that SNL, they gave Donald Trump a whole show when it was time for him to flex his comedic muscles in an effort to get elected. And they seem to have skated on it. But I think that's just because of the constant and never-ending barrage of Donald Trump jokes and the Alec Baldwin Trump impersonation that's been ubiquitous ever since that episode, basically. It's an interesting one. What else?
Excuse me, I swallowed a fly. President Trump is back to blaming both sides, for the Charlottesville unrest.
Yeah. Anybody miss the good old days when he was just threatening to blow up the world?
Biggest one you've ever seen of all time. 72% of Guam residents supported Hillary Clinton in a straw poll conducted last year.
Oh, yeah, because it's interesting because, it's interesting because, little Kim Jong said that he was going to blow up Guam. And Donald Trump said, well, we're locked and loaded and ready to go after Kim Jong should anything untoward happen to the residents of Guam. Now it turns out that how much of Guam supported Hillary Clinton?
72%.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they better hope Trump wasn't listening to that report. Or his position on them will go from locked and loaded to screw and them. All right. Is it time that we talk about the...
We got like 7 minutes here. Sure, let's...
no, then let's do a couple
all right.
pieces of news.
Let's see. Senator Cory Booker wants to legalize marijuana on the federal level.
Yeah, if you didn't know which senator he is, he's the one that's awesome. So... Now, look,
man, I'm totally voting for him twice.
I have absolutely no interest in smoking marijuana. I'm not a drug user. I've always said that, like, if I was given a choice between medicinal marijuana for pain management versus something opioid, I'll take the marijuana cookie as opposed to something that's a hop, skip, and a jump away from heroin. But got no interest whatsoever in the partaking of the old wacky tobacco as a recreational activity. But look, I mean, I've said it time and time again. There are any number of reasons why the idea of marijuana legalization in America is a good idea. First and foremost, well, I mean, look, marijuana is the number one cash crop in the state of California. It is. It just is. There's no getting around it. That is a fact. And you know the expression, bought the farm? That comes from the idea that farmers lead an unbelievably precarious existence. These people that provide food, vegetables, sustenance, fruit, things for us to eat. Foundation of the backbone of America, the American farmer, lives an unbelievably delicate and precarious existence where, it was a little frosty in April. Well, you just bought the farm. It's gone. It's done. your career, your livelihood, the thing that you depend on to put food on the table and feed and clothe your kids and put roofs over heads, that's over and done with. So bearing in mind that marijuana is the single biggest cash crop in the state of California now, could we not maybe make things a scotch easier on the rest of the American farmers and give them the opportunity to grow? Yes, I think that we ought to do that. What else?
Bill Gates announced that he's donating $4.6 billion in Microsoft shares.
I mean, look, what's a big charitable donation to you, Funkhouser?
Way less than $4.6 billion.
like for people like me and Funkhouser, if we can stretch $25 or $50 or $100, we might go, okay, it's an excellent cause. We'll live off of ramen for the rest of the month. I mean, it's relative, really. It really is a relative thing. And giving what you can give is more important than the dollar amount when it comes to this kind of situation. But for the Funkhousers and me's of the world, $25, $50, $100, that's a big deal. Then there's people that donate thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions, but it's all just chump change. It's all just pocket money compared to what Bill Gates did. Bill Gates, like Funkhouser said, announced he's donating $4.6 billion with a B in Microsoft shares. And these are Microsoft shares that will be, I think, sold off to help look after the poorest people in the world. That's what Bill Gates is doing. However, you got to bear in mind, they're Microsoft shares, so to get them to work, you might have to turn them off, then turn them back on again. Otherwise, I think we're off to the races. Okay. Should we talk about the...
Can we just squeeze this one in? Sir Mix-a-Lot turned 54 recently.
Sure.
Thought that would be a good way to end.
Or as he's called these days, Sir Mix-a-Lot of Metamucil. Right? What else, Funkhouser?
That's it.
All right, then let's talk a little bit about this website. A website that specializes in posting hacked celebrity nudes hit the jackpot the other day. They posted compromising photos of Tiger Woods, Lindsey Vonn, Catherine McPhee. You remember her from, she was on a season of American Idol, and now she's an actor, and she's way easy on the eyes. Kristen Stewart, you know, what was that series of movies about teenage vampires and werewolves?
Is that
Twilight?
It?
There you go. Kristen Stewart, the Twilight chick, and Miley Cyrus. Now, in the case of Tiger and Lindsay, sources say it was Lindsay's phone that was hacked. And there is a full frontal shot of Tiger that he sent her when they were dating. This is stolen material, and it shouldn't be looked at. But it needs to be said, Tiger Woods has a lot to be proud of. In addition to pictures of Lindsay, there's also video of her in the tub enjoying her shower massage. As for the pictures of Miley, you know how Miley's turned over a new leaf recently, Funkhouser? You know how she's got this cleaned up image, and she's like, yeah, sure. I'm a vegan now, and I don't touch drugs, and I'm shaving my armpits, and you know, that sort of like the grungy, provocative, big foam finger version of Miley Cyrus is a thing of the past. I'm going to keep my tongue in my mouth, and I'm going to be a little bit more family friendly. And you know what? Like, people have a problem with Miley Cyrus. Bear in mind, when she was doing all that stuff, she was in her early 20s. Like, people do stupid stuff in their early 20s. I mean, like, if you hunt around for pictures of me in my late teens and early 20s, you will find me with blue dreadlocks. Like, it was a moment. It was a thing. I saw Dexter Holland from The Offspring and thought, why not? I'll go with it. And in the same year, I made the incredible fashion errors of having blue dreadlocks as well as cornrows. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, all the stuff that Miley Cyrus said and did, look, you know, is she contributing to the moral decay of the fabric of society with some of the things that she was doing? When she has a massive platform the way she does, maybe kind of, sort of, not exactly setting the best example, but also, you know, a young adult, and her saying that she was smoking all kinds of pot and having all kinds of sex and doing all sorts of things that she wanted to do because she wanted to do them. I disavow, okay? Right, yeah. She did a little bit of disavowing, with her new image. She's got this new cleaned up, like I said, family friendly image. As for Miley's pictures on this website, let's just say her new cleaned up image is going to take a bit of a hit. It's bathroom stuff. Now you know. And if you feel weird about looking at stuff that you shouldn't be looking at because they're stolen pictures, trust me, unless you're into a distinctly stomach-turning experience, you're not missing anything by doing the right thing and avoiding the Miley Cyrus pictures in these situations. Besides, everyone that's associated with it is going to be sued and sued hard.